Hey there, my name's James Preston and I'm the managing editor of Global Crypto and SA Crypto, and I wanted to make this video about the upcoming Bitcoin halving happening in May 2020. Today is the day. It's actually happening in a few moments time, and it's taken me a couple of days to put this together because as we've approached the halving, I am getting more and more phone calls from people saying, hey, what is this halving all about? What is going on? Am I going to lose my Bitcoin? How is this going to play out? So I wanted to make this short video to help people understand what it is and how is it going to affect the Bitcoin price, because a lot of people are being sold these ideas that, well, the Bitcoin price is going to go crazy. You must get in now before it does. So let's actually look, is it really going to affect the price? Technically, the reality is this: the halving should not impact price much at all. That's really the bottom line. You can turn this video off if you really like simple stuff and you're done, you have a short attention span, then you can turn it off. That's all it comes down to. But I have produced, for people with a little bit longer attention span, I've produced a very short summary for you. Firstly, the Bitcoin halving is only going to have a psychological impact. Secondly, currently there are 1,800 Bitcoin mined every single day. And after the halving, that's going to be reduced to 900 Bitcoin every day. The total amount of Bitcoin wanting to be sold on the global exchanges every 24 hours is over 1 million Bitcoin. So 900 Bitcoin being added to this 1 million Bitcoin every day is actually just as negligible as 1,800 Bitcoin. It really is as simple as that. So the halving really just drives psychological hype in the markets, which drives up demand, and thus that's what causes the price increases. So if you have a little bit longer attention span, you're welcome to turn off and say, well, great, I got what I needed to know. Thanks, James, appreciate that. But if you're one of those who wants to explore this a little bit deeper, let me show you, let me take you on a journey, especially if you don't know what Bitcoin mining is and what is this halving all about. So let's have a look. Now, we're going to start with what is mining and how a blockchain actually works. We have here a diagram of what the Bitcoin blockchain could work, or rather could look like. Okay, so think of a blockchain like a spreadsheet book. Okay, it really is just a spreadsheet book, and each block is kind of like a new page in the book, right? And then all the transactions are recorded, and then after 10 minutes a new block is opened up and new transactions are put into that sheet, and so on and so on. So that's all blocks are, right? They are a record of all the transactions that happen on the ledger, and every 10 minutes it gets a new block gets created and all the next set of transactions get recorded. 10 minutes, new block, etc., etc. We're sitting now at 629,900 and something blocks with all the transaction data in those blocks, which gives the Bitcoin blockchain currently 220 gigabytes of data. So that's a fair size. You need a fair size hard drive to actually run a Bitcoin node. What is a node? Well, a node really just supports the Bitcoin network. It's decentralized. So that spreadsheet that I spoke about here is, traditional senses, a spreadsheet is one book, and everybody has to make sure that that book doesn't get lost. But the Bitcoin blockchain is not stored on a single server somewhere on Amazon. It is stored on computers around the world in perfect consensus. So according to this diagram right here, you can see all these computers are saying yes, 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 yes. We are happy that these transactions are official. They are looking good to us. We're in consensus with each other. So they are supporting the network. They don't get rewarded for that. That is purely an open source thing where people want to contribute to the network because they believe in it. You then have a little bit of a higher level of a node, which is called a miner. And these miners are processing the transactions that happen inside each block. They're also performing very complex computations to solve an equation to unlock the next block. And this equation usually gets answered every 10 minutes. And a miner that gets the block is rewarded with Bitcoin. So he is contributing to the network by solving the various difficult computational formula, and he is also processing all the transactions to confirm them in the previous block, okay? And he gets rewarded in Bitcoin. At the moment, that is 12.5 Bitcoin. So miners are rewarded. The miner that gets the new block is rewarded 12.5 Bitcoin for each block. So that's 12.5 brand new minted Bitcoin released to a miner every 10 minutes. Now, this process was set up, which is where the word mining comes from, was set up very similar to the understanding and the concept of gold mining. In the same way that in a normal gold rush, people come along, they find a gold nugget in a river, and a rush happens, people come in, and more people pan for gold, they find the gold, and as more and more people come and pan for gold, it gets harder and harder to find that gold. And so you have to dig a little bit deeper, work a little bit harder. And then eventually you mine so much gold that you need to make it an industrial process because it has become so difficult to get any gold out of the rock. This is what the concept of Bitcoin is all about in essence. It is a deflationary commodity, a digital commodity, and it becomes scarcer and scarcer as it gets mined. So every 210,000 blocks, this reward is halved. So at the moment it's 12.5 Bitcoin, and a new block is mined, 12.5 Bitcoin gets released. When it first came out, the Bitcoin blockchain 2009, it was 50 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. That got halved after 210,000 blocks to 25 Bitcoin. And then in 2016, the last big mining hype that we had after the 420,000th block, that got halved to 12.5 Bitcoin, where we are now. Now, today, that gets cut in half again to 6.25 Bitcoin after we mine the 629,999th Bitcoin block. Okay, not Bitcoin, block. Okay, so it's the actual block gets mined, gets unlocked, and new transactions get stored into that block. So that'll be the 630,000th block, and 6.25 Bitcoin will be the new reward for mining Bitcoin. All right. So how is this going to affect Bitcoin's prices? Let's have a look. So many people think that the halving is going to launch the price, but the data doesn't fit that narrative. What the halving does is it actually generates public attention toward Bitcoin, thereby driving up demand, which in turn increases the price. So the primary cause of Bitcoin price increase during this period is actually the increase in demand. It's not necessarily the reduction in supply. So we have this chart here of the last few minings that have happened. I think it was made by Brave New Coin. We don't have a confirmation of that, but very special thanks to Brave New Coin if they did create it. They're another news website in this industry, but special thanks must go to Warren Gray and Kriyan Singh of CoinEd. They're an blockchain education company, coined.coza. Warren Gray shared this with us on our WhatsApp groups, and all it does is show the various market cycles after a halving. So this was when Bitcoin first got released down here. Sorry about this bar that pops up. It really irritates me as well. Can I move it? Let's have a look. No, I can't. So bull market happened. Then the market turned. We had a bear market. Then there's what's called accumulation, expansion, reaccumulation, halving, and then it kicks off another bull market, then a bear market, accumulation, the same thing happens, then a halving, then another bull market, bear market. So this pattern has repeated itself. So therefore, based on a technical analysis and market psychology, we can anticipate that that's going to happen again. But as you can see, this bull market took a bit longer to happen after the halving than this one, which means it's very likely this bull market will happen much later after the halving than this one. So that means we're probably looking at about middle of 2021, late 2021, maybe even 2022. That's a very long time, but it's possible. Okay, so you can see that the halving doesn't immediately kick the price into a bull market, but it usually does precede an upcoming bull market. So now I'm going to show you some data. So we plugged into 12 different exchanges. Very special thanks to Ian Hunter, who helped me with this data, Nick and Jevon, who are all partners and team members of Global and SA Crypto. And we are plugged into 12 different exchanges around the world, which is not a lot, but they're fair size exchanges. And we pulled the order book at an exact moment, all the buy orders, all the sell orders at that moment on all 12 exchanges. The overall amount of Bitcoin looking to be bought was 14,211 Bitcoin. The total value of those buy orders was $120.7 million. The overall sell orders, there was 5,368 Bitcoin available for sale. The total value of those sell orders was $93 million. Now, we pulled these order books from these 12 exchanges. We converted all the foreign currencies, so things like the South African Rand, the Korean Won, I think is how you pronounce it, and a couple of the others, the Euro as well, the British Pound, etc. So the exchanges were Bitstamp, Kraken, BitHum, Coinbase, Luno, Valor, and a few others. We pulled this on Friday, 8th of May at $13.53. The price at the time, for interest's sake, was $9,900. Now, there are thousands of other exchanges buying and selling Bitcoin, and our data shows us that these 12 markets only make up 0.47% of the total fiat Bitcoin exchanges, which does have its implications. What we did was we then multiplied our data to create approximate market totals. So therefore, the total amount of Bitcoin, using this approximated figure, the total amount of Bitcoin looking to be bought, i.e. being bid for, is 3.02 million Bitcoin. The total amount of Bitcoin being sold is 1.14 million Bitcoin. We added the total value of buy orders in US dollar value, and we got $25.6 billion worth of people wanting to buy Bitcoin on the exchanges. We added the total value of sell orders. We got $19.79 billion worth of Bitcoin looking to be sold. Here's something interesting to note. People can't place orders in an order book without that value of fiat currency in their account. So that just goes to show how much money is in these exchanges alone in fiat. That's at least $25.6 billion in those exchanges, at least, because remember, not everyone's placed a buy order. So there's even more fiat likely sitting on these exchanges. It's just incredible how much is going on in the crypto markets. It's huge. And remember, this is only Bitcoin. We're not even looking at some of the other cryptocurrencies. So now let's look at the daily Bitcoin being mined. The current amount of Bitcoin being mined every day, if you multiply 12.5 by the current price, which was at the time $9,900, you get $123,750. So you get $123,750 being mined every 10 minutes. The total amount of Bitcoin being mined in a 24-hour period is obviously 12.5 times 6 times 24. That's 1,800 Bitcoin mined every day. Brand new Bitcoin being minted, $7.8 million worth at current prices. If the total amount of Bitcoin being sold at a given moment is 1.14 million Bitcoin, it's clear that 1,800 Bitcoin in an entire 24-hour period is actually a drop in the ocean. The same goes for when the mining reward is halved. Think about it. 900 Bitcoin added to 1.14 million is just as negligible, and it's really just a drop in the ocean. Now, I do want to show you the G Sheet. This has been a very long video. I do apologize, but let me show you the Google Sheet where we aggregated all this data. Right, let's look at this order book over here. So the total amount of Bitcoin looking to be bought on these exchanges was 14,211 Bitcoin. The total amount of buy orders was $120.7 million. The total amount of sell orders, so the actual amount of Bitcoin on these 12 exchanges, 5,300 Bitcoin. And the total value of those sell orders was 93 million Bitcoin. So the average price, you divide 93 million by 5,368, you get 17,300. You divide 120 million million, buy 14, 2 on 1, you get 8494. Don't look at these disparities too much, because what happens is people place a buy order, a cheeky buy order for like $1. They say, I'm going to put one Bitcoin for $1, and let's see if someone accidentally pushes market sell and it goes through the order book and I get to buy a Bitcoin for $1. What a pleasure. So that lowers the average buy price. And then you get cheeky people who put sell orders for like I've seen $100 million for one Bitcoin. That's how much they're selling their Bitcoin. And then a guy accidentally pushes 100 million and he clicks buy, and then, he's really messed up, but that increases the average sell price. So that's our actual data. You can go through our data, you can confirm it, that is actual data. Then the current Bitcoin trading volume is $45.6 billion. Our data set's trading volume is $213 million. So that's 0.47%. So if we estimated that we are 0.47% of the market, then our figures look like this. The total buy orders on all exchanges is, as I've said, 3 million. The total value of those is $25.6 billion. Total sell orders, 1.14 million Bitcoin. Total overall value of these sells is $19.79 billion. Now what I'd like to do is, what is the total after the current daily mining amount? Well, that only increases to 1.14394 million Bitcoin. And the total value, if those then become sell orders, because people are going to sell that Bitcoin, that only increases to 19.821 million right? And then after the halving, that increase in sell orders or Bitcoin for sale only goes up to increases a little bit negligibly to 1.143. So look at that figure, the amount of Bitcoin for sale after the halving to before the halving. I mean, it really is negligible. Now you can see there it's 0.16% increase after actual a day of mining, and then after the halving that increase is only 0.078%. Now, here's something interesting that we did just to show you the impact on the market itself. We divided the total amount of Bitcoin for sale by the total amount of buy orders, or rather the other way around. We divided the buy orders by the total amount of Bitcoin for sale. In other words, what we did was we said, let's create an imaginary market order where someone just sells all that Bitcoin into the buy book and all those buy orders get filled, right? So the value of those buy orders is 25.6. We divided these figures of amount of Bitcoin by 25.68 million. And this is the average price we got. Now, again, don't look at that figure. It's not an accurate reflection of the supply and demand of the economy because of all those cheeky orders in place, right? But this does show you the difference that the halving actually makes. You can see that the price, if we divided the amount of Bitcoin for sale by the buy orders, is only $22,488. Then, after the day's mining reward, 1,800 Bitcoin, that price is only decreased by a small amount down to $22,452. Then after the halving, where that is now no longer 1,800 Bitcoin a day, it's 900 Bitcoin a day, that is $22,470. Now, look at this. The percentage of market unaffected, so the percentage decrease in price before the halving, it's only 0.16% decrease in price. So that affects the market by 0.16%. After the halving, it's 0.08%. So in other words, the amount of the market that is unaffected by mined Bitcoin released into the market is 99.84% at the moment. After the halving, it's 99.92%. So the difference is tiny. The market remains 99.9% unchanged by the newly mined Bitcoin. And you can see that before the halving, it's 99.84. After the halving, it's 99.92. What is the difference? 99.84 versus 99.92. It really is negligible. So you can check out that data for yourself and go through it if you like. So we've been through all this. Let's move on to the conclusion. So due to the amount of Bitcoin already in circulation, There's already 18.3 million Bitcoin in the market out of a limited 21 million. We're at market saturation. The mining of Bitcoin now has a fairly negligible effect on its price. And this means that Bitcoin could be treated more like a stock than a commodity. Granted, it doesn't provide dividends, but stocks are in limited supply. You can't create more stocks, right? So Bitcoin is more like a stock, actually, than a commodity like wheat or oil that can be produced. And of course, there are 4 stages of a stock's market cycle. There's accumulation, then there's the uptrend when people get on board, then the wise investors start to sell their stock, and that's called the distribution phase. And then as they sell, more and more people sell, you get a contagion effect, and that causes a downtrend, and then it starts all over again. That's all that we're going to see in this scenario. We're going to see accumulation, uptrends, distribution from the wise investors, and then downtrends. So be careful, folks. You're going to get caught up in the hype. You might buy in, it's going to spike, and then you might buy in a bit late again. Just like in the 2018, 2017 bull market, we could see the same thing. So be very careful of those downtrends. You don't want to be caught out. So here's the bottom line. What am I saying here? The halving is really just a wonderful example of a deflationary currency and why national jurisdictions should base their economies on hard money. But the halving is not going to directly impact the price of Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin will only be impacted by basic supply and demand economics, i.e., the more people hear about Bitcoin, the more Bitcoin will be bought, which will cause the price to increase. Bottom line is, Bitcoin is going to significantly impact the world of economics. That is for sure. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I really hope that you enjoyed this explanation. I hope I clarified some things for you. Please check us out, globalcrypto.com. My personal Twitter is JamesPrestonZA. I'd love to interact with you there. And if you want to validate this data, just go to bit.ly/global crypto markets. That's an important link because we may not have this on globalcrypto.com by the time you see this. So go to bit.ly/global crypto markets. Thanks for watching.